The Prime Minister said yesterday in Parliament that the story wasn't right about the return of the so-called ISIS brides, but a New South Wales Police estimate session yesterday found they'd be involved in their resettlement. So did the Prime Minister mislead Parliament yesterday, or was he being cute with words?
It looks like it, Pete, and good work by Sherry Markson on Sky actually revealed, what I'm saying is that yesterday in question time, the Prime Minister stepped away, and we will make further inquiries because he may well have misled the Parliament. We'll get to that, but stepped away from suggesting that any of this was happening at all, and government officials were not involved in repatriating ISIS brides. By the evening, the New South Wales Police Commissioner, as you said, had actually said, no, that's not the case. That work is going on. So if the Prime Minister can't tell the truth over this issue, how can Australians trust him on national security?
All right, but was he just responding to the question that was put to him and the specific set of words? So he was able to use verbiage to get around the point, so therefore technically not misleading Parliament?
We'll let him make those points today, and we'll continue to press our case on actually demanding on behalf of Australians what happens. Because the point here, Pete, is not necessarily the to and fro, but is the Prime Minister actually acknowledging, explaining and telling the truth here? These are people who left this country with hate in their hearts to join a terrorist regime that had at its heart the destruction of Australian values. Now, we need to know at a minimum if they are returning, and if they are, whether our agencies will be in a position to arrest them for breaking Australian laws by leaving to participate in this evil cult.
Still with the government, Sussan, it says it didn't know about Dan Andrews going to China and was very dismissive about questions about that visit when asked yesterday. What questions do you want answered on that today?
Well, I know that the Prime Minister and Daniel Andrews have been close. They worked together on a strategy leading into the election campaign. Pete, old flatmates stick together. Anthony Albanese needs to demonstrate some moral clarity here and actually call out Daniel Andrews for being just a few feet away from dictators and despots at a Chinese parade that the Chinese Communist Party demonstrated its military strength.
Is it treachery?
Some would call it that. And I honestly think the organisations that have relationships, business relationships with Mr Andrews, need to reconsider their positions. It's a stain on his character. But it's important too that our Prime Minister join other Labor leaders and call this out for what it is. We need to have a statement of moral clarity from the Prime Minister that to see his great friend be so close to dictators and despots at an event hosted by the Chinese Communist Party, which is a military show of strength to the West, that does need comment from our Prime Minister.
Do you think the Victorian Premier Jacinta Allen should be going, even if it's just trade and business?
Look, I think she's taking a delegation of backbenchers. The Victorian public will make their mind up about whether this is a junket, and I think most of them would say she really has a lot going on in her home state of Victoria, and the people of Victoria are hurting with the cost of living crisis that is really bad in that state, and that's where her attention should be right now.
OK. Just a final one, Sussan. Jacinta Price, she was in the news on a few fronts yesterday. She claimed in an interview that migrants were being brought in from India to boost the Labor vote. She ended up walking that back later on in the day. But has the damage been done here? Could she have isolated an Indian vote the coalition might have sought?
Look, she's corrected those comments, Pete, and our migration policy, long-standing, bipartisan, is non-discriminatory. But I want to make this point that we do vote every 3 years, but every day that I'm opposition leader, I'm fighting for every single Australian, no matter where you came from. And our Australian Indian community are amazing. you contribute as Australian Indians so much to our country. We know how hard you work, your family values and the contribution you make across this country, and as opposition leader I value that incredibly.
Do you expect Labor to use that at the next election as a scare tactic now though, that clip?
Look, Labor will carry on in the way that they do, and I will leave that to them. What we're here for is to fight every single day for every Australian. And as I said, Pete, it doesn't matter how you vote, we're here for everyone, because we know that the values of the Liberal Party, aspiration, hard work, reward for effort and building this community in this country are something that will resonate in a serious, credible, compelling agenda.
All right, that's the Opposition Leader Sussan Ley. Sussan, thanks as always for your time.